sure. Why don't I'm going to start recording this, and then I'll ask everyone afterward if you want a copy, you can send me, and I'll send you a link to it. Thank you, Nick. Thielen. Is it Nick or is it Nayek? Perfect. So you should see in the chat. Whoops. Hold on one second here.
I see the chat.
In the chat, there's the link. Does everyone see it there? You just give it a little click. And Suzanne, if you'd be so kind as to turn off your camera and microphone for me, please. Thank you, my friend. No worries. So when you have a question, please put it in the document there. That's just a shared Google Doc. Please put your questions in here. You can do that now, everybody. Just I will say, make sure you go down a few rows. Go down a few rows, huh? Go down a few rows. There you go. Before you post your questions. But everyone, if you have some questions, please put them in there now. As you're all putting in your questions, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. And Elena, if I could have you as VP in charge of letting people into the room. Thank you, my friend. All right, everyone. So the first speaker that I'm going to introduce is my friend Adnan. And I'm going to share a link to each one of their films after they've spoken. After everyone has spoken near the end of the session, I'm going to give you all a link to some of their films because I think you'll really like him. So Adnan, you made a great holiday Christmas film. You've been making films for how long now?
I would say 5 or 6 years now.
And we recently just made a film for the 24-hour film challenge that I loved, and I was always impressed by your way of making film. So, ladies and gentlemen, can we have in the chat a little bit of gibberish as applause for our first speaker, Adnan? So, just in the chat, can everyone give me your best gibberish? There it is. Let's see all the gibberish. The more gibberish, the louder the applause.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
There it is. There it is. I love that. Clap, clap, clap. Thank you, Chris. Nice. And Adnan, you can just take it away. What's all the things you wish you would have known before you started making films?
So there's so many things. Like there's a long list of things that I wish I knew before I started making films. First of all, if I can make a short film, anybody, any one of you can make a short film. So I would say start with that confidence. I wish I knew that I had the confidence to make a short film or any kind of film or a web series. Like I haven't done a feature yet, but hopefully in the future. But I wish I knew that I could make a short film, and I waited a long time. I had stories that I had written down, and I had these ideas, and I wanted to do that. I never knew that, hey, I can learn. I can learn how to operate a camera. I can learn how to write. I can learn how to edit. So I learned everything from scratch, and I'm still learning. So that's why if I can make a short film, anybody can make a short film. So think of this way, that you have a story to tell. You have an idea that you really want to transform onto a screen. And the easiest way is to make a short film instead of jumping into a bigger project like a feature or a web series. So believe in yourself, and you have to start somewhere. So don't think too much and just go for it, and have that confidence to make a film and finish a film. So no matter what the results are, do your best, get your resources together, and go for it.
Okay, Adnan, so let's actually do it like this. So you talked a little bit about make a short film first. What counts? What's the smallest length of film that you think people should start with?
You can start with a 2 to 3 minute short film or a 5 minute short film. Because if you go beyond, say, 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and if you have multiple locations, you're spreading your resources, and and try to have a smaller cast, maybe 2 people, maximum 3 people in it, and think of whatever you have around you and whatever you can afford, and then start your story and write the script around it, instead of okay, I'm going to have a spaceship in my film. Where are you going to get the spaceship from? Or you're going to have a big office building that your film is staged in. Where are you going to get that resource from? So you have to know what you have.
Oh, you know what? I think that's a really great way to put it. I think, oh, and by the way, Suzanne, if you could please put your questions into the Google Doc that I shared, that would be really great. Because we're going to do questions after everyone speaks. Thank you so much. Ed, so I think the big walk away here then is that I can take away is start with a location is one strategy and build your film around a location you can access.
Yep.
I totally agree with that. I had a friend of mine and we wrote an amazing piece that takes place in like the 13th century. And we loved it. We worked on it. And then we realized that there's no way we're going to make this movie because we don't have like any budget. So then we just changed it up into the same kind of concept, but in a bedroom.
Because then you need costumes and all that. And you need to have the 13th century. You need the background. So you need the number of actors and all that, right?
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Adnan. And now let's pass it on to Mr. John Chrysalis. And I'm going to, you know, John and Lena, I know that you work a lot together. Do you want to talk together or do you want to go individually? Individually? Because John and Lena, between them, I think I would call them the Independent Film Festival champions. Because between them, they have, I feel like you have like 20 different films that are playing in festivals all the time. You got a lot, they've really gotten good at hustling and not just creating, but making sure people see what they create. So let's start with John first. John, you want to take it away? What's some stuff you wish you would have known when you started making films?
Hey guys, how's it going? My name is John, as Ivan said. I also want to note, like Adnan said, I didn't go to school for filmmaking. I didn't spend years and years in a film school. I actually discovered filmmaking through TAP. I've been a member of TAP since 2016, so 5 years now. And I've been making short films since then. So it hasn't been that long for me either. Like Adnan, I'm continuing to learn by doing. And I think a lot of you guys that are probably watching this as well, you didn't go to film school, you kind of have this curiosity about making something, and I hope that this is going to be good for you. In terms of something that I wish I knew, and I think that could be helpful for everyone, I noticed that a lot when it comes to that next barrier, once you have your idea and once you have your story, it always tends to be the script from what I've seen. I think a lot of people, including myself when I started out, spend too much time writing a script, too much time perfecting a script, too much time writing draft after draft. I think what's important to know when writing a script is that as long as you've got a good story, you've got your characters, you've got your dialogue, don't spend too much of your time writing draft after draft and trying to polish every single line and every little word. Very much what I've learned is that the script is the first step. It's the raw material. It is the working document that's going to help you move on to the next step and continue to actually make something. I know a lot of people, they end up writing a script for years, and I'd say, hey buddy, hey, how's it going? Have you made that film yet? Or have you where's that short film? I want to see it. And usually the reply will be, I'm still working on a script and I'm just finishing up another draft. So I would say the number one barrier to kind of avoid is write a good draft and then move on. Logistically, I would say the next step after that, from my perspective, is think about your shot list. I think that's the one thing that I would leave until the last minute. Whenever I'd make a film, I'd do it like the night before we were shooting. And it ended up being such an important thing to have planned out. A shot list is just taking the script that you have, taking that draft, that good draft, and then really trying to visualize how you would actually shoot the scenes that you wrote. Think about, even if you can't draw, you can make a list of what kind of shots you would want to see that could help visualize your script, whether it's a wide shot, a medium shot, a close-up. Mm-hmm. How do you want people to actually visualize and experience your script? And I think that would be a better investment of your time instead of getting stuck on the script.
John, can I jump in
long.
here for a second? I think
Sure.
that's such a valid point. And I'm going to ask something. I don't know, Adnan or John, if any of our filmmakers, if you have a shot list that you don't mind sharing, please send it to me right now. And what we'll do is we'll share it with everyone so people get a sense of it. But feel free, John, if you have one, or Adnan, whoever, if you have one, please, let's send it over to me, and I'll do a share screen after everyone's spoken. What I do want to ask you. Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
sure,
John.
go ahead. I was just going to say, for me, actually, because usually it would be something that I would be planning the night before. Most of my shot lists are just written on the script itself, or just written on a piece of paper. That's how late I left it in the process. Like usually we'd spend so much time on our computers writing our scripts, but something as valuable as a shot list, which I think will really help people visualize the story that you're trying to tell, that's something that you can spend more time on instead of just writing.
And I think if I was to give a quick example for everybody here, suppose you have something that says interior, like it's like you write your script and you say poorly lit bedroom, 2 people lying in a bed. You could, what is that as a shot list? That for me would be like, I'd need a master shot of the whole bedroom. Then I'd need a second shot that's from the waist up of the 2 people lying down. Then I'd need an over the shoulder looking at one person and then looking at the other person. So even that one sentence would have 4 different shots. And if you do the exercise of writing out that, like John is saying, that makes the film so much smoother on the day of filming, because someone will be like, it'll always, tell me if this hasn't happened to you, John. You're like, hey, shouldn't we film it like this? And you're like, oh shit, we should. We totally forgot that shot. Oh no, we got to do this now. And there's nothing worse than finishing something and then saying we forgot that one shot and then having to go back to it, right?
Yeah, and I think the only other thing I'll say is that even if you're not planning to shoot something until later on, I think a shot list is just going to help you if you guys are just starting out making a film. Think of a film as a visual medium. Myself, I started off actually as a writer, so I always got so hung up on the words and the dialogue and like perfecting every single word that's on a script. Once I started making films, I realized that, wow, this is such a visual medium. Most of the storytelling is done visually. So if you're planning a film right now, what I would do is have your script and then start thinking how you would visualize this film. And I think it'll be a good use of your time.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, sir.
This is my shot list right now. I'm working on a project. I can't show you because it's a story ongoing. I can read it through.
No, don't talk. Adnan, sure. Why don't you give us a quick little read of a few?
Yeah, just a couple of lines, right? Just to give you an idea. Say a wide shot of the character's name is John on the bed, and I'm putting 24 millimeter, which is the focal length of the shot. So my DP knows that this is the kind of wide angle I need. Wide angle can be so much wide, or it can be lesser wide. So I'm giving him
just to jump in. DP is director of photography. So the person who's going to be, if you're doing a film and you're not the one using the camera, whoever's using the camera, that'll be your DP. If it's you, congratulations, you're director / DP.
Yeah, and you would know what to use. So it depends on who's using the shot list. You can put more information. If you're doing it, then you know like what kind of lens you're using.
Cool. Thank you very much, Adnan. All right. Thank you, sir. Hey, everybody, can you just do me a quick favor? Can we all just check in? Can we get a little gibberish applause for our first few speakers? And a little applause, and we'll use that same applause to introduce our next speaker, Kat. And Kat, I know your last name is always so hard for me. Kachani?
Hey, the C is silent. It's Kohane.
Kohane.
Yeah.
Thank you all for the lovely applause. Hello, hello, hello. So I'm going to ask everyone, I'm going to spotlight Kat here. And I'm going to ask everyone except for Kat to turn off their cameras and microphones, including our other speakers. Thank you.
Okay, how do you do that?
How do you turn off your camera?
Yeah, I'm still kind of new at this.
Elizabeth, you were doing it before. I'm going to do it for you, so don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Just make sure, I'm going to mute you here, and then I'm going to turn off your camera. And there we go. And John, there we go. Perfect. And now, Kat, it should be all you. Take it away.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for including me. This is a very cool panel. And before I say anything, I do want to give a shout out to this community because it was about 5 years ago that I started going to some of the TAP events because I wanted to meet more actors as a filmmaker. I wasn't never intending to become an actor, but I wanted to meet more people to collaborate with. And this community has been a big part of my journey. I've worked with other people as well, of course, but I do find it to be a fantastic place. And, you know, to those of you who may be joining the session for the first time,
Oh my goodness, Kat, I think we're losing some of your sound, my friend. We lost the last 10 seconds. Try it again. Try it again. Say the
Okay.
last 10 seconds. I'm sure
Oh, wow,
it sounded
that was-
really
that was-
inspirational.
that was like the best part. What did I say? I don't remember what I said in the last 10 seconds. Yeah, just basically encouraging people to the relationships that you've built, that you build at TAP and the, you know, the friendships, they really films
Hey,
have been done.
Kat, you're totally cutting out on us. I'm going to ask you to exit the meetup, exit the Zoom,
Okay.
and come back in to see if we can reestablish the connection.
Okay.
That's all right. And Brennan, can I put you up on deck? I should mention that
Sure.
Kat has an amazing film for everyone who's in Canada. It's on CBC Gem, but she made an amazing film with a few TAP actors that's playing right now. And it's, if you're on CBC Gem, I'm going to get her to write in the details. And again, I will share a link to each person's films after at the end of the session, so you can all get a chance to watch some of the independent little short films they've made. Brennan, are you there, my friend?
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Good, good, good. I don't have your camera on right now.
Oh, I just clicked to turn on. There we go. Oh, and turned on again. There we go. Hi.
Hey, and you can, Brennan, you just, I really liked, Brennan and Florian made a film called Rencontre, which was a French film they filmed in Toronto, and they ended up getting a bunch of funding. They took this one short film, made it into a feature film. It's playing, and I'll share the link, and I highly recommend you watch it. It was one of the easiest hour and a half I've ever spent. It was just a charming film.
Oh.
So Brennan, what is some stuff you wish you would have known before you started making movies?
Oh, I think. Okay, so yeah, I'll be totally real with you guys here for sure. I will say probably the things I wish I would have learned when I started making movies was I wish I had sort of checked out everybody and like their work before. I'm just like, yeah, totally. Let's do it. Let's hang out together and stuff like that. And I think it's probably lessons that everybody needs to learn. Is just like sometimes you'll have collaborators that you won't work well with. You know, so I had a DOP or a director of photography on my first short film who said like, oh yeah, I've totally shot a whole feature. I can totally shoot your film. It's like, oh great, this is exciting. And I am obsessive with planning my films out with everything. And then like I get to set and then this person's just like, okay, so I don't know what this button does on the camera. I don't know what this button does on the camera. And they actually hadn't done anything. They just lied about it. So I would say, check out your sources, check out the collaborators. If anybody says that there's like, that they're huge and they're doing great big things and like, be a little bit wary. I feel like the people who are good at what they do, don't boast about it nearly as much as the people who, you know, will sort of pat themselves on the back, break their arm to pat themselves on the back too much. And sometimes
Brennan,
those
can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Because what you're saying is so true. And my big warning sign is whenever you have someone who says, listen, I've been doing this for X amount of years. I know what I'm doing. For me, that is usually the number one, like, uh-oh. Can I see a copy of your work? Listen, I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't have a demo reel. But that's always like,
Yeah.
that's always a
Yeah,
warning
yeah.
sign. But keep going. Not
Yeah.
to focus on the negative, but like that's
Oh,
just-
totally. I mean, that's the thing. I think it's important to focus sometimes on the negative, just so that you know what you're getting into, and so that you can protect yourself from, you know, things that might give you a bad experience and then sort of turn you off filmmaking. Because as soon as I made a short film that played, like the first short film I made was this one with this DOP. I couldn't even finish it. Like they said, oh, you can use this software, it'll be great. That software didn't work. I had to recut the entire film. It was like a 3-day film challenge or something, like a 72-hour film challenge. And I had to recut the entire movie like 10 hours before the premiere. And I was literally rendering it out on a laptop in the stands before I had to show it. So like after that, I reset everything and I took more control of my own sort of production. Like I took control of the camera and I took control of editing and everything like that. So I just knew everything would be perfect. And then I went back to the same festival and won that festival. So, I mean, and it would have been very easy if I had just been like, well, you know, I can't trust anybody in this industry. And I just won't do anything. And that is not true at all, because every set, no matter how bad that set is, there's always that one person that you meet who is good at their job and actually, you know, you hit it off with, and then that's the person that you sort of like, and you sort of gravitate and you become friends. So the first short film that I was on here in Toronto, so I moved from Ottawa. I'd made a bunch of short films there and stuff like that, and I moved here for acting and filmmaking. The first person I met and sort of connected with there is my sound guy that I've used for 5 years, and he's amazing. And I literally shot for him last week. So we're actually showing a whole bunch of people were showing shot lists and stuff like that. So I draw storyboards. So for his he has a band, and I made a music video for his band, and so they're just terrible little stick figures, just so that I know which left, right, and you know, like
I totally do this too. This is what I do. I make like really shitty pictures for every single shot.
yeah. So apparently you're in good company, because Martin Scorsese used to do that as a child. He used to draw little pictures, and I mean, they're just as bad as mine. Who else? Wes Anderson, who directed, you know, amazing movies like The Grand Budapest Hotel. He will actually not send a script out to his actors. What he'll do is he'll draw a shitty version of every shot of his entire movie. And then he'll do all the voices and send them out to actors of friends of his. They're all friends of his now. And they'll be like, I want you to play this character with the red hat at this time, between this time. And so, yes. So I didn't know that, but when I started doing this, but what I will do, like for instance, to a music video, so I make these storyboards and then I take pictures of them and then I edit it together with the music. So I know exactly what beat of the music that I need to hit this or that or this or that. Now that's not something you can do in a narrative film, because, you know, with editing, you play around with different things. But I mean, for me, it's good to have a plan then, because when you have the plan, you have the ability to throw out the plan. And you know, you can always fall back to what you need. And sort of, as somebody who likes to be prepared, maybe over prepared sometimes, it's important to have a plan, and then be able to, at sometimes, to say like, oh, I have a better idea right now. Let's do that. See if that works. And then, you know, if you have time, if it doesn't work, then great. You can still go back to the original plan you had, and then, you know, keep going. But yeah, I would say check out your collaborators, and you can find great people to work with, and you'll work with forever. There's a reason why Martin Scorsese's done like 5 films with Scorsese, or, you know, all these guys, and it's always the same crew. And when you get your group together, then you can start making stuff that's great. And not only that, don't be precious with your work. Like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's like, filmmaking is a sport, and it's a team sport. Your team is not going to win every game. So, you know, and like, let's say you're like, take a baseball metaphor. Like if you're standing up at the plate, you're not going to bat 1,000, you know? So you got to learn how to do that first. And so I would say, treat it like a sport. And then, you know, your failures will be just as useful as your successes. And once you see that film playing in front of people, and people laugh when they're supposed to laugh, and all these things like that, then you get addicted and you can't stop doing it. So.
All right. Thank you, Brennan. Thank you, sir. And we'll see Brennan a bit when we'll talk some more questions. Kat, if you're back, let's try you out a second time and hopefully the sound will work a little bit. Hold on 1 second. We got to unmute you. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. All right.
Okay, perfect.
Let's keep our fingers crossed, everybody. Kat, what's stuff you wish you would have known before you made your first film?
Hey, so a lot of the points that have already been made, I definitely agree with. You definitely want to be prepared. You want to have a plan. I've learned over time is extremely helpful is no sound again. Somebody's
Yeah,
saying.
you cut off. The last thing we heard was what I've heard that was extremely helpful would be like that's where you just came back in.
Okay. Not sure how to.
Just keep going. If we
Just
can't
keep
make it
going?
work, we
Okay.
won't worry about it. Let's keep going.
So I would say definitely begin with an end in mind. For every project, I have a goal. So whether it's, okay, with this project, I want to make sure that it checks these boxes. So for example, let's say I want to add a dramatic piece to my reel and I want to make sure that it meets these criteria. And then I look for people who also have that same goal, who may be actors or cinematographers or composers or whoever I need for that project. But I've learned not to start with a script, actually. I find it's easier when you don't really have a lot of resources to start with people and start with your goals. And then you create the project around that. So for example, See You Tomorrow, which was starring Justin Hay and Mark Lewis, who are part of TAP, that's exactly what we did, is we just wanted to work together. We got together one day, brainstormed some ideas and did some workshopping, did some improv with just the three of us. And that led to a script. And we had nothing. We had no location. We had no money. But Justin had a car. And he said, well, we can use my car. And I said, okay, let's do it in the car. And then we did it in the car. And it turned out great. That film has been very successful. CBC ended up buying it, even though we had no money making it.
If I may, just to jump in, for all our American and international friends, CBC is the public broadcaster. It's sort of like the equivalent to PBS in the United States, I would say, for film and television, like a public broadcaster. Michelle Gallagher, what is it called? I will get the name of the film for you. It's called See You Tomorrow, but it's only available. It's like the BBC. Yes, Brendan. It's like watching BBC. It's called See You Tomorrow, and it's currently on CBC. And you can look it up, and maybe you can find it somewhere. I don't know. I don't think it's public yet.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going.
So
Sorry.
that would be a good example of a short film. It's only 3 minutes because we knew we had to keep it really short. We knew we only had a limited time together, and we did it. And really the bulk of the work is post-production. So when you decide to do a short film, don't forget about post-production. That's something that I've learned, because in my early films, that wasn't something that was really on my radar. I said, oh, okay, we'll just edit it and we'll do it. You have to have a plan, and it will influence how you shoot it. It will influence what camera you use if you have the luxury of choosing. It will influence everything if you have a plan for post-production. And to that point, if you've never made a short film and you just want to kind of get your feet wet, I would highly recommend that you don't use the fanciest camera. Like, that's not where your resources should go. So everybody wants to go, oh, I want to shoot on 4K and I want the red camera. And that's great. You might do that, but understand that the red workflow and the 4K workflow, it can become so much more complex. And I'm not talking about 4K on your phone. I'm talking about, the big fancy cameras that everybody wants to work with. So just, if you've never done it before, there is absolutely nothing wrong with taking your phone and shooting it on this. And I have made films on this, and they have played on festivals. And I've also made films on a red camera or other 4K cameras. So I would say don't limit yourself, but don't make your life more complicated than it needs to be. But don't forget about audio, because people will forget. People will forgive you for your shots not being perfect, assuming they're in focus. But bad audio, as somebody mentioned earlier, like they will not forgive you bad audio. We can't hear it. It sounds bad. It sounds processed. There's noise. That's, I would say, definitely don't, if you don't have money to spend on good audio and also on a good camera, spend the money on good audio. That is, I would say, extremely important. What else? IKEA is your friend. IKEA has a lot of cheap resources, cheap lights, really great. On numerous projects, I've used IKEA lights because they're cheap and they look good and they make and they're organic to the space. So if you can't afford professional lights, you can get a light for like 20 bucks at IKEA, 30 bucks at IKEA, and it looks great. And what else was I gonna mention today? For those of you who are in Canada, Long and McQuaid, the music store, has really cheap mic rentals. You can get really cheap, like 20 bucks a day. That's the best deal that I've seen anywhere for a lav mic. Make sure you use that lav mic. It'll be well worth the investment. And if you can get somebody who knows how to do sound properly, definitely do that. So I would say those would be my highlights. And the last thing I'll mention in terms of begin with an end in mind, if you're an actor and this is for your demo reel and you want to just get some exposure on the festival circuit, get some attention to yourself, or even as a filmmaker, think about what festivals you might want to enter, and don't just go, oh, I want to do Toronto and I want to do Sundance, but think about how will this help you, and realistically, what festivals show the kind of films that you want to make.
And to that end, I will actually jump in here, Kat. Thank you very much. I think the trumping sound, the very first film I ever made, I think I mentioned it. I did it in a nightclub. Yeah. And the club was cool with me filming, but they weren't cool with me turning off sound. So most of the film is unhearable. It's like, how's it going? And even though we had mics, killed it. It killed it. I will also say, thinking with the end in mind, the first film I ever made, I found the festival I wanted to submit and then made the film. I looked at the criteria for the festival, and that helped me to figure out what I wanted to film. So yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Kat. Yeah. And our last speaker, before we get into some Q&A, and I want to put in a few thoughts on my own because I've made a few films on my own, is Lena.
Sorry,
Hello.
I'm changing the view because it was on the gray screen.
And just so you know, Lena and John have collaborated a lot in films, but Lena has made her own a good short film. She recently had one that's called After, which is really great. And she stars in a web series called Marked. And I will share these links with everyone as well. So she's both an actor and a filmmaker. And Lena, you can take it away.
Thank you. Not just stars in Marked, I also co-made it, so.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
I'm like co-creator, editor, co-producer, co-writer, everything. Hi. So weird, I'm the only one on the screen. What's going on? Okay. So something that I want to mention that hasn't been said yet, and I'll be brief, that I find sometimes is not the top of the list for people when they are thinking of making a film, but it's also just as important as like the camera and the lighting and everything. When you're making a short film for the first time, or anytime, especially if you're making it with fellow actors or friends that are helping you out with their time, basically for free, it's important to remember how you also treat people on set, and you got to remember to feed everybody. Because I feel like sometimes when people first start planning a film and they've never done it, the first thing they think, okay, what equipment are we going to use? How are we going to shoot this? And sometimes taking care of the people on set is a bit of an afterthought. So just remember to feed your people. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Honestly, I've been on sets where even just having granola bars and water bottles was very much appreciated, especially if it was something that we were like shooting for a couple hours. But trust me, everybody's going to be 100% more happier if they have some snacks or some, sustenance, some water and stuff. And at the end of the day, just remember that this is people you're working with, and, treat them as you would normally treat people out in public anywhere. Don't, even if it's like crew members working for you, just treat them with respect, basically. That's all I want to say. because no one's gonna see, like when people are watching your movie in a festival, they're not gonna know what went on behind the scenes. But that stuff that people don't see is just as important as the actual editing or the shooting or the acting. So
I
that's
will
what I
actually
wanted to
tell you
say.
that I'm guilty of that. And another thing I might mention, Lena, is one of the things you said is no one ever thinks about where you are holding people.
Yes, that too.
So
Make
you'll
sure they're
think about your
comfortable.
shot, but if your shot is outdoors and you got two other people in your film, are they just going to stand in the rain while you film it? Like the scheduling and how and where people are going to wait. That's what holding is. Where people
And
are going to wait is very
yeah,
important.
and also maybe it's because I'm the type of person, any room any new area I go into, I'm like, okay, where's the nearest washroom? Where can I get food? So it's, you gotta plan for your locations to also know, okay, people are gonna need to use the washroom. What's the nearest one? Where can they go? People are gonna need food. Are we bringing food? Is there somewhere we can buy food nearby? So all of those sort of maybe meticulous things, but they're very important because you're gonna end up with just a group of cranky people who are like, I just want to go home because I need water, I need food, I need the bathroom, you know? So yeah, that's just my point. Don't forget about the people and the process, not just the technicals or the final outcome or the post-production. Treat everybody well and they'll treat you well, and you're all gonna be happy. And no matter what kind of film you end up making, as long as you've enjoyed the process and you respected everybody, it's gonna be fun.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Lena. So everyone, before I pass it over to questions, I am actually going to give you a couple of quick things, everyone. Can we all first get a little bit of gibberish applause, everyone? Checking in. Can we get a little bit of love for all our speakers so far? Let's get that international love. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, keep it coming. Keep it coming, please. There it is. There it is. Awesome. So my friends, I'd like you all to get a pen and paper real quick and write this down for all of my first-time filmmakers. I'm going to go through this and I'll ask that my panel, if you turn on your cameras, but keep your microphones off. If you want to jump into this, please let me know. But first, let me just take the lead for a second. So my friends, have a pen and paper, be ready to write this down. Making a film is 3 steps: pre-production, filming, and post-production. Most of the time will be spent in pre and post, figuring it out and then making it work. Filming is the easiest part. Okay. Pre-production. What do you need to do from pre-production? Based on everything we've heard so far, here's what I've summarized from what all of our filmmakers have said. Number 1, 2 strategies to get started. Either A, go on Film Freeway. And Elena, could you get the link? What's Film Freeway? What's the other film festival site? Film Freeway and, oh God, why am I blanking? The IMDb.
The other one died.
Oh, really?
The IMDb one owned by Amazon went out of business.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't there something with the box named, like without a box?
Without a box, yeah.
Without a box. Is it gone? Okay. So everybody go to Film Freeway, makes it even, filmfreeway.com. And you will see that is a collection of all the film festivals. Find one that's 3 months from now, see what their criteria are for a short film, and make that for short film. Some of them will be like, you got to use a red vest, or you have to say this phrase. Cool, done. Helps you to focus. That's the first thing for pre-production. The second thing for pre-production, figure out where you're gonna film, because that'll dictate so much. And usually make it a fucking bedroom. Just do living room, bedroom. You know what I mean? Don't do outside, because like the sound will kill you, right? Like start easy, okay? Third thing for pre-production, either write out all the different shots you want to have, a large shot, a medium, a close-up, write them out, or make pictures for everything you want, and then share that with everyone you're filming with, so that everyone understands your vision. Because otherwise, like Len and stuff were saying, the people part, you'll be that dick. They'll be like, no, we don't need it. Trust me, just leave me alone. We don't need it. Tell everyone, communicate is so big. I am guilty of not always communicating on set and being very like, it's my way. And I've burned bridges because of it. Filming is the easy part. Here's what I think is all you need to start filming. Okay, this is mine, and I'm gonna let Brennan, Lena, Kat, and Adnan, John, if you're there, instead of turning on your microphones, if I miss anything, please put it in the chat. Okay, for everyone. Okay, so that way. But here's what I think. Here's what I think is all you need to get started. Okay, 1 cell phone to film. some sort of a tripod to hold that cell phone. Some people would say Steadicam it, just hold it. I'm going to say it'll, like, the amount of time just being able to put the camera down, is that what it looks like? Perfect. Done. I'm going to say some sort of tripod. You can buy them for $10 at the dollar store, the little selfie tripods. Done. Okay. If you film indoors, you'll have all the light you need. Personally, I think. But here's the last part. You need something for sound. And there's two ways to do sound, okay? There's the A, you go and you find lavalier mics, you rent them from music stores, whatever, right? Or you go really guerrilla. You take everyone else's cell phones and you use them to record audio. So for example, I would do films, and suppose this is the shot you're seeing right now, okay, everybody? I might have my camera on a tripod looking at me. I would take someone else's phone and like turn on audio recording, like voice memo, and just put it like right there where you can't see it. I'd like even hold it. See, look, see this? I'm like, I would like hold it like this. Hold on. See my phone there? I would like hold it and then put it up so you can't see it. And the mic is right there. And that's how I would do really good sound. And then in the post-production, I would put it all together, which brings us to post-production. What was the third pre-production? It was your location, finding a film festival, and your shot list, or like pictures, the way Brennan did it. Either write it out like Adnan does it, or pictures like Brennan showed you, right? So that's your filming. That's what when I do a self-tapes, I will wear a shirt with a pocket here, and I'll put, like, I have an old cell phone, and I'll put that in voice memo if I really need good sound. That's what but you can do it how you want. That's all you need. Then it's post-production. So what do we do for post-production? Just out of curiosity, can everyone in the chat tell me, are you a PC or a Mac user? Go. In the chat, everybody. We got 54 people. Lena, Brennan, you guys don't have to do it. PC. We got, okay, I feel like we're 50-50. iMovie is, if you have a Mac, use iMovie. If you have a PC, I know Brennan, Brennan, it's about getting started, sir. Don't know. Okay, Brennan, put it in the chat, man. We already got some disagreement. Or there are some free things available. So for example, you can use, what's it called? Blackmagic? Where's that link? Here it is. This is a free one that you can all use. It's a little complicated, but why not? If you guys, by the way, I love it. If any of you are, please put down your things. Adnan you can use Filmora. Is that free, Adnan? DaVinci Resolve, that's the link I just shared. Thank you so much. Don't use iMovie. If you want to use Final Cut, I'm trying to give people the options that are just free and easy to use. Brennan, are you okay with DaVinci Resolve? You can give me a thumbs.
I posted it twice.
Oh, did you? DaVinci Resolve? And I shared the link. Karen, can you please put that question into the chat and we'll address it afterward. Windows Movie Maker on PC is good, very basic. Thank you, Lena. Cool. So that is everything. And I'll give you one last thing. When I first made my first few movies, I never understood the whole, like, the slate, the thing like take one, action. Man, learn how to use that. The first movie I made, I had like 9 takes for every shot. And I ended up having like 30 shots. It was like a 10-minute short film. And I was always like, oh, I'll remember the take I like. I remember the take I like. And I never did. And I could never find them. So I'd always have to look at 10 different things. And what it made is just a really hard editing process. So have a little chalkboard or use your phone. You can get a little like drawing app on your phone. Hold on. There you go. You get a little drawing app on your phone. And just be like, take one. And then make a really big sound so you can sync up your sound. That's what I'll say. With the exception, Kat, yes, you have something you want to add.
I have a trick that I learned from one of the sound people that I've worked with.
And just so you know, Kat actually works in film and television as well. She does a lot. Yeah.
This is from an indie shoot, and it saved us so much time in post-production because we couldn't afford sync sound on set and we couldn't afford the fancy slate that matches everything. We just had a basic wipe down slate. Calling it out. So whoever's recording your sound, if you have a recorder, your recorder will have a file name. So what you do is you go roll sound and somebody presses record on the sound. Roll camera, you roll camera. And when both are rolling and you have your slate, that tells you what take you're doing and what shot number, have your sound recorders call out the file number. So it'll be like audio file number 53. So it records on your sound, and that audio will also record on your camera scratch track, which will not be your best audio, but it's there for reference. It just makes life so much easier when you can match it up later.
Oh, I love that idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. And just so you know, gang, if you have specific questions about editing and matching up stuff, well, you can put it in the chat. We might not get to it because it's very specific depending on the systems you use. But I will tell you, saying things out loud. Take 7, recording sound and audio. This is file number 1232. That's what I do. Will save you, because then you can see it. It just makes your editing, it'll save your life. I wish someone had told me that when I started. Okay, so now thank you all very much. That's some tips for everyone. Now let's get into the questions, everyone. So first of all, how expensive is it to rent film equipment? I feel like that's a big question and it depends where you are. But let me say this. I think especially when you're starting off, instead of renting film equipment, once you have a good team, I would suggest saying, what do you all got? How about I'll open up the floor to anyone. Let's get 1 or 2 comments about renting film equipment. Brennan, yes, sir.
What I ended up doing really is like renting film equipment. I think the most important thing, as Katarzyna said, like sound is of course the most important. And if you're just starting out, you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars renting equipment. You can probably find a film co-op around where you live. Like any big city has like a film co-op, and you can rent like an old Canon camera with like a lens and a battery for like $5 a day or something like that. And then just grab that. Probably you can get old sound equipment for like even less than that. And hell, if you're shooting your first film, why not try for a silent film first? And don't worry about audio just yet. Like my first few films, to be honest, I used music that I actually performed and recorded myself, just like with a camera beside my thing, and then just added that in later. And then used narration, just what you could do just directly into your phone. If you want like those sort of talking back and forth, I think it can be, but it can be as low as $5 a day to $50,000 a day. It's like saying, I want you to make a movie for me. It's like, all right, how much is it going to cost? Like, well, are we making Lord of the Rings, or are we making baby's first film? Well, what is it? What are we doing, right?
I think
which is Rencontre, so of course.
Yeah, well, I will say this, that I'm always a big fan of, if you're going to rent something, rent the sound.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that sound will take people out of the film so quickly. When all of a sudden it's like, if I have really clean sound and then it cuts to the person in the conversation with me and all you got is background park noise, kills it. Thank you. So our next question is, and I'm going to try and get through as many of them. We got about 30 questions so far, so we'll get through a bunch of them.
Can I add something here before you do?
Yes.
Have a call sheet. And if you don't know what a call sheet is, I'll leave an example in the comments. A call sheet is a document that everybody gets that tells them exactly how the day is going to go. It has everybody's contact info. It tells people when to show up, because not everybody's going to show up at the same time. Your actors don't need to be there right when your crew shows up. Yes. It has contact info for all your people. It has contact info for the nearest hospital. It has the address of the location, and everybody gets that at least the night before, so they know what the plan is. I'll leave some examples. That is so important. It's going to save you so many headaches.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Before we get on to the next question. And by the way, Brennan, thank you so much. And John and Lena, you've done this as well. If you want to add things while another one of our speakers is saying, like about what's some good audio equipment, I love that you're putting it in the chat. I'm going to turn off my background for a second here. Tap, that's our logo. Okay, can I show you all something? I'm gonna show you all something. This is a call sheet. This is from a film I was in. Okay, and you'll look at this, and that's what they give you on a this is like for HBO show. Like, it's very complicated, but literally it's just contact information, what you're filming, at what time you're supposed to show up at. One of the first independent films I made, they just had everyone show up at the same time. So as an actor, I would show up and I'd sit there for 3 hours and just be mad. Like that was it. But this is like, you'll see very much like it says, I'll zoom it in here. Can you see, like, that's the people, that's the characters, that's the names. And then that was like the times we're supposed to show up at. That's it. This film is now called, it was UB Untitled Pippa, just the name of the director, but now it's on HBO. It's like, I can't remember what it's called. Share. It's called Share. If any of you have HBO. All right, next question. Can you recommend some good camera holding techniques? How should you hold a camera? I'll tell you something. I would always get a tripod for a cell phone and then hold it out, like hold it like this, so it feels like a steady cam. But I'm telling you, just make a static shot. Make like a shot where you just, Adnan, do you hold to your chest like that? Is that what you do?
Yeah, you have to plant your elbows if you don't have a strap. If you have a strap, that can give you more stability. So yeah. Or if you can look at the viewfinder, that gives you another contact point that can make your camera more stable. So the idea is give more stable points to your camera, so it's not shaking.
Yeah.
Believe me, there are micro jitters. If you think, oh, I'm the most stable person, there are micro jitters. When you look at your footage, you'll find out.
Yeah, and when it's here, it doesn't look like a lot. When it's on a screen, it's like.
Yep.
And that's why I say, remember when I said, when you're filming, just have a tripod, dude. Make your life easy and static shot, okay?
Use two hands, not this, this, and plant your elbows in your stomach. And I mean,
yeah,
hundreds of techniques. I mean, you can use a shopping bag. You can make a hole underneath the shopping bag, pull your lens out of that hole. That makes a steady shot too. I mean,
go on
sound
YouTube.
Though the sound would be terrible.
Well,
scaring me.
No, it's just a technique. They can do sound, which actually gets us to our next question. Actually,
if you're doing
our next question.
If you're doing separate sound.
Someone said, I've made a music video. Is this the same? You know what? I think a really good strategy that Brennan said, if you want to start, like, just so you can like mess around and start making things, make a few music videos. And there's actually music video, and John and Lena, you recently just made a music video, Man of the Year, I think. There are film festivals for music, for just music videos, because then you don't worry about sound. You can put it all in at the end, and you can worry just about filming. That's a great way to get started. How do you meet up with people to help with a script? I've done my own scripts, but it's not a professional layout. Oh, dude, I totally know what you mean. Well, join the Actors Place community. And you can say, hey, everyone, I'm not a writer. I need help with a script. Can anyone help? And then I'll pass it to our floor. Any ideas about how to find people?
Well, how to find people, I think, is, I mean, yeah, the first time I was ever involved in a short film was like just looking on like some online. It was like Kijiji was like the Canadian version of Craigslist, and people were looking for background actors. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I wanted to do this. I've been obsessed with movies since I was a kid, and then I sort of got on set, and then, you know, you meet tons and tons of people there, and then you find out, oh, there's a meetup, and, you know, and it sort of just all snowballs from there. Of course, joining a community, if you have a community close to you, that's great. those are the people that are going to help you out, because most people in the film industry, I think are super willing to help out, because everybody needs an extra pair of hands on set sometimes. And everybody started out as that extra pair of hands. And so most people are usually willing to, like, if you're just like, hey, okay, let's do a trade. I'll come help out. I'll, make sure that background actors or I'll be a background actor. Or I'll make sure that the background actors don't run amok while you're filming the shot or something like that. And, and you can get some help for that. And, that's how I got started, at least with the stuff. And I would assume most of the people on the panel probably started out as like some little thing on some set somewhere. And then you're like, oh, maybe I could do more. And then sort of it bloomed from there. But I don't want to speak for anybody. Yeah.
I would also say another strategy you can use to finding writers, or just finding things like people to volunteer on. Find writing programs at the local college and university. Contact the program director and saying, hey, how can I let people know that I'm doing? Like, I think community college has stuff that is it's underutilized. In fact, Kane, one of our other members, when he first started acting, because acting schools were so expensive, he took a 6-month acting program at a community college for like $200 for 6 months. And it was like brilliant. It was brilliant. So find writing programs. And hi, Jack, nice to see you here. Would you mind just turning your camera off for us? Thank you so much, sir. And then, of course, in the chat, you'll see that already Jasmine and CE have put down their names, like they're willing to collaborate. There we go. So I find film programs and writing programs, and I say, hey, can I volunteer? Hey, I have this idea. I don't know how to write it. And then you see what comes back to you. Next question. How helpful is it for a new actor to create their own short films in terms of growing their career? Adnan, you go first, and then Len and John, if you want to jump in.
So what you can do, like, make your own short film, write a script. It doesn't have to be an elaborative story, but if your aim is to make your demo reel and something that you can showcase, just write a scene and just write on like a single location where you don't need an elaborate
bedroom, living room, kitchen.
Bedroom, living room, kitchen, in your backyard, wherever.
Don't use the bathroom, too much echo.
No, not bathroom, backyard. So make a short scene, and again, think about the sound that we just talked about. Record your sound properly, do as many takes you can, and make sure your lighting is proper. It's not too bright, not too dark, and put a couple of short films together and edit them into a short reel, and you can use that for your demo.
I would also say, real quick, and then Brendan, absolutely. I would also say, just if you're doing it as an actor, write scenes that are about 10 lines long, make them like 20 seconds or 30 seconds long. Don't do a 4-minute scene. You won't be able to put all of it into your demo reel anyway. Your demo reel should be like less than 2 minutes. So make a bunch of like 10 lines back and forth, little scenes like that. Brennan.
So I think making short films as an actor is the most important thing you can possibly do as an actor. I think it's and editing your own performances as well can really help you get a better sort of idea of your own sort of the tics and things like that we all have, that when we first start acting, we think, oh, well, we have to act like this. And so I always had my forehead going like that. And then you see this in an edit and you're like, what am I doing? And sort of it drills into you these mistakes. And so you get rid of those soon. So, but I'll tell you a story from my career, because I act as well. I was always getting the good boyfriend role. I was always the nice boyfriend, the boyfriend who's cooking dinner for the girlfriend or something like that, or all these different things. And I was just bored playing this. And so I wrote a short film where I was a vindictive, like evil, torturous person. And I put it in the local film festival. And I literally had a director from the city say, like, I really loved what you did. I want you to play a evil character in my next movie. And I didn't even have to audition. I got the role.
Beautiful. That's amazing.
And like, nobody's going to be able to believe you. Like the film industry is kind of, it's a huge imaginative industry, but it's really unimaginative in the way it can sort of see actors sometimes, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But like, if you think you can do something, I mean, you might as well, you know, like Adnan said, like write a short scene, like, you know, 2 minutes maybe is the max you would ever need for one of these scenes to sort of build up sort of any tension or anything like that. And then, you know, throw that in your reel. Like even now, even though I've been on some pretty big shows, most of my reel is stuff that I've written and directed because I prefer it better. And you can be the lead of your short film. You don't have to be like the dude in, you know, in some big show where you say like, oh, hi, you know, and throw that in your reel and nobody really knows what you can do. So I would say it's really important. And it helps you sort of find your voice as an actor as well as a filmmaker.
I think that's such a great piece of advice. Someone asked, like, should you make your own or should you do independent films? Do both and watch everything. I made like 10 films. My first 10 films were all independent films. I thought I was fine. I saw myself and I realized that I knew nothing and I hated myself, but it made me better. And as a side note, if anybody watches Outlander, you might be able to catch a much longer haired version of Mr. Brennan Martin. Season 5 finale. Look for Wendigo Donner in Outlander. That's where you'll see him. Speaking with a Scottish accent, was it?
Nope.
No accent.
No accent.
Love it. Love it. All right, next question. Kat, this is for you. Can you talk a little bit more about what you mean about improving scenes? Like you said, you didn't like to use dialogue. How do you do it?
Sure.
Like you have like where, you know, where a scene starts and has to end. You give them a time constraint. How do you do it?
Yeah, so we do that in, I don't do it when I'm shooting, and I don't always do it, but the times when I did, like See You Tomorrow would be a perfect example. I knew that I wanted, so going back to begin with an end in mind, I knew I needed more drama on my directing reel. So that was one of the criteria, is I looked for actors who wanted to do more drama. Secondly, I knew I wanted to stay away from themes that were very common among, you know, student films, and like every film festival has the same kinds of films. There's always, you know, the couple story, the boyfriend, girlfriend, the roommates, we've seen it so many times, the black and white angst ridden artsy film. So I knew like, I don't want to do that because that's been done so many times. I want to do something different. And because my goal is to direct television, I wanted to create a sample that would look like it could have been from a television show. So when I knew I wanted to work with Mark and Justin, that was great because they already knew each other and worked well together. So there was a level of trust. And we decided to do something serious. And for those of you who haven't seen it, See You Tomorrow is about police officers dealing with post-traumatic stress from their work. And they never talk about it. And these two people have been partners for 5 years. They never talk about it. They're kind of happy-go-lucky, especially one of them is really happy-go-lucky. You would never suspect that they're struggling. And one night, one of them drops the other guy off at his home. And they sort of kind of have a conversation that, you know, they're never going to talk about it again. But now each one of them knows that they're not alone in struggling. So I thought that was really interesting. And we went with that. And when we had our prep, I met with them, just the three of us, nobody else. And I just said, okay, well, let's play with this. Let's improvise. What could happen? We ran it a few times, and this is where the value of having trust, and like Lena mentioned, take care of your people. That I'm a huge believer in that. Because they trusted me, they brought something incredibly special into that improv. It was not a comedy improv, it was a serious improv. And I recorded it on my phone, what they were doing. And then we decided which parts we want to keep, which parts we don't want to keep. And it flowed so beautifully that basically in the matter of maybe 3 hours, we had a plan. And I knew exactly how I was going to shoot it because it just made sense for the story. So that was my process for that. But I've also done it. There was another project that I did with somebody where we wanted to collaborate, and he wanted to add dramatic stuff to his reel because he's done a lot of comedy. So he put out a call on Facebook saying, hey, I'm looking for a short script about 3 minutes long, 2 people. So he put out what the criteria are, and somebody responded who had never had any dramatic anything produced. And it was a beautiful script, and that became So What Now, which was what I sent you, Yvonne.
And I will
about.
share that with everyone.
Yeah, and that was about a couple trying to have a kid and they can't have a kid, and it was inspired by the writer's, family history. So there's
I'm just
different ways to approach it. Yeah.
Yeah, please wrap it. I'll give you about another 20 seconds because we have so many more questions. And I
Yeah,
want
absolutely. So as far as improv, it's really what you make it. Don't rely on improvising in front of the crew because your actors will not feel safe, but do the work beforehand.
So if I can give you a couple other quick and dirty ones, having where the scene starts and where the scene ends. It's got to start with you guys saying this, and it's got to end with someone saying this. And that can be another quick strategy to help people improv. Another way is I write very simplistic dialogue and I allow people we read it once out loud, and then we just try it without looking at the lines anymore, and we make it our own. And that can just be a couple of quick tactics for people to get started with improving your scenes. And I love the idea of doing it in advance is really great. I'm going to share something real quick so you can all see it. This is the See You Tomorrow. That's Justin and Mark. Before it was aired on television here in Canada, and it won a bunch of short films, and it was a great film. With these handsome young men, both TAP members. Maybe we'll do another. By the way, everyone, if you want, okay, you can send me a private message. If you want, we might have like a mini film screening where we watch some of these people's films after this, and it'll be optional. You can send me a private chat. We'll see what everyone thinks. Next question. Someone wrote, what is the best thing you did in filmmaking? I think that's probably you can check out their IMDb for that. Unless you have something a bit more specific with that, whoever wrote that, please feel free to elaborate if I'm missing the point of that. How to address logistics surrounding the use of actors in film during times of COVID. And then I'm going to combine that with this one. When you're making your first short film, being an independent filmmaker, and I'm going to pass this to John and Lena because you've made some films this year. Some short films this year. So you've had to work with COVID, but also how do you prepare a budget? John and Lena?
Hey, Yvonne, I think me and Lena, you can talk to as well to help me out.
I was pointing to you. You start.
You. So
No, you.
No, you hang up first.
You go first.
So the film that we made, and I know you guys kind of did this as well, Yvonne and Adnan, but the film that we made for the 48-hour film challenge this year, it was right in the middle last year. It was right in the middle of October. So it was kind of during cases were rising, at least where we were. So we weren't necessarily comfortable being in person for that. What we did was we used Zoom, which was really, really interesting to use from a filmmaking perspective. It wasn't like we took a script that was written for a traditional short film and then said, oh, let's translate this into Zoom. It was one where we knew that we were going to make this using Zoom. And so we made sure that the story took place in Zoom and kind of used that to its advantage. I think that's a really great way to make something now. You can connect with actors, whether it's through TAP or through your connections, and use them to already get started in terms of making something. I think another thing that we did, and maybe Lena can talk to this, is we had to be more comfortable allowing people to film themselves instead of us being there.
So
why don't you share about that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so we actually had a team of just 3 people. It was me, John, and Babs. She's also a member of TAP, for those of you who don't know. So because we were in the same apartment at the time with John, so we shot each other when necessary, and she got a friend who was bubbling with her to shoot her. So we had footage from Zoom, stuff that worked to do as a Zoom scene, but then we also had footage that was shot out in the world, both that we shot and then the stuff that she shot, and we kind of cut that into basically a movie. So we didn't have control over what she shoots, but we just made sure to tell her, make sure, you do it landscape and make sure you get these type of shots if you can. And then we just kind of cut it together using what we had.
And I think that's probably going to be the biggest change from everything that we've talked about in terms of planning shots and shooting things is that you might have to be a little bit more flexible in terms of allowing your actors or your collaborators to shoot things on their own and trust them. So the other members of our team, we didn't know what they were shooting. We didn't know what they were going to be doing. We had no idea. We didn't have any control of that. We weren't there listening on a phone. We kind of like allowed them to have the flexibility to shoot what was right for the story and what was planned, and then we reviewed it later. So I think probably if you're going to make something now and you're collaborating with people who are remote from you, you might have to, maybe if you give them a good shot list, it'll be close to what your vision is, but you might have to be a lot more flexible in terms of what kind of footage they're going to be shooting. And I think maybe now during the pandemic, planning is even more important, because if you do want them to be them to get footage that's close to what your vision is, you're really going to have it very well planned out and very, very clear in terms of what you want them to shoot.
Good. And in terms of budgeting, Brendan, go ahead.
I was on a few shoots this year that were in person. And what we did is everybody was tested within 3 days of shooting. Everyone wore masks on set. Everybody had individual food specifically tailored for them, so they didn't touch anybody else's food. We were always separated and made sure that when we were eating, we were with farther than 2 meters away, and that every time that we, that anybody who wasn't on camera had a mask on at all times. That's kind of how we did it on this short film that we did. And it was a little bit of a thing to get everybody to get their tests on time. This was back when you could just walk in and get tested whenever you wanted in Ontario. I mean, it's a little bit difficult now, but we did that. And that's sort of how Hollywood and everybody's doing it right now. You cover your bases as much as you can. You make sure that you have the Tom Cruise speech on your phone, so that if anybody's breaking the rules, you can just have Tom Cruise yell at them instead of you. And you try and make sure that everybody's going to be safe. And sometimes, and I think probably everybody would agree with this, is that there are some films that shouldn't be made right now. There are some films that, hey, give your script a few more drafts. Maybe you don't need that crowd scene. Maybe, you need this or that. And yeah, that's my 2 cents at least.
I will also jump in and say, what a great time to start making found footage stuff. I've watched a few horrifically scary found footage things on YouTube, and it's just someone in their backyard. And they made like a 20 parts thing, and it was just like with people in their house. And they're not actors, but they just made this film, and I was fascinated. Budgeting wise, I would say in general, challenge yourself by trying to make a movie for no money at first. It'll be terrible. You might not get accepted into any festivals. The first 5 or 6 TAP movies we made were absolutely terrible. I still show them to people, but just to show how far we've come. But after the first one with no money, we're like, man, we really could have used this. Perfect. Now you know what to spend your money on. I made the first 4 or 5 films of mine with 0 money. And every time I just like, oh, I wish we had that. I wish we had that. So by my 5th or 6th or 7th film, I knew what to spend money on. Yeah, can you remind me, CE, can you remind me at the end of the session, and I'll find that and I'll make sure to send it to you. It's super scary. Okay. How do you go about writing a script, as I have no idea, but stuck on going about writing as an independent filmmaker? I think we covered that already. You can reach out to all the different acting communities, join TAP saying, I need someone to help me write something. Go to writing programs, to the program, say, is there a place where I can make a post, or is there a Facebook group that I can post for your writing students? Go to a filmmaking program, say, hey, I'm a filmmaker, I'm looking to collab. Those are some quick ways. How do you choose where to upload your film for public viewing? Example, YouTube, or do you pitch your film to Netflix, Apple, blah, blah, blah. And I think that speaks, I'm going to open it up to the floor, but I think that speaks a little to, like, in the pre-production, knowing what you want to do with your film. The first film I made was for the YouTube International Film Festival. I don't know if you remember this. It was like 10 years ago. And basically YouTube decided to do a film festival where anyone could submit. It had to have these 4 criteria, and you had like a month to do it. So I knew exactly what to make and where it was going. But everyone else?
My first films were all for challenges. So 72-hour film festivals, 48-hour film festivals, 24-hour film festivals. You say, all right, you need a skateboard. Somebody needs to be a locksmith named Dakota Flannery, and you're doing a comedy. And those sort of,
Well,
sometimes those things can actually make your brain work a little bit better.
great idea. In 10 or 20 seconds, anyone else want to add anything?
So I made a film with zero money, and I'm still doing that. And that was for TapFest. And well, I had no idea what I was doing. Even my camera was not straight. And but yeah, we just wanted to make something for TapFest, and it was the second TapFest, and I used Windows Movie Maker, I remember, and that's the time I learned how to use it. So and even now, I don't aim for anything special. I don't aim for a festival. It's good to have a film in a festival. If I have an idea and if I think I have the resources, I just go for it. And yeah, it depends on how much time I have and how much resources I have.
Elena, not Lena, but Elena, because some people have been asking here, and I saw in the chat here, are there Facebook groups where which Facebook group should you reach out to? Certainly you can join a ton of them, but Elena, will you please put the page and the TAP page and the TAP community page? Community group? Yeah, put that one. Yeah, put that one in, and you can all join that and ask for help there. Yep. I think, who was it? Nate, you're at Film Festival Alberta. Share the link with your film festival here right now so everyone can join it and check it out. Now, our next question. What are some editing tips as far as jump cuts, etc., to create more dynamic and captivating film? I'm going to open up the floor. I'd love to hear from our filmmakers. Let me do one thing that I will say is don't cut too quickly. So often you're like, God, I just need an extra second to make the cut smooth, but I cut too soon. Have 5 seconds of just this after every shot. Like, just have 5 seconds of it. It'll save your life. Anyone else?
Oh, I have one. J cuts are really worthwhile.
What are J cuts, please?
So if you've got an editing program, not iMovie, where you can have 2 levels of video, like at the same sort of like on the same
multicam
timeline. Yeah, like whenever you're shooting 2 angles and you're mixing them together. So a J cut is what happens is when there is it looks like a J. I don't know if I'm reversed from you, but like if the audio from the second shot starts at the end of the first shot, it will lead you into the second shot much more smooth than it's not. And so they're called J cuts and L cuts. And that's just like a super simple thing of being like, oh, okay, instead of things feeling sort of, if you want to make things feel frantic and but also smooth, that's a really great way to do it. J cuts. That's a simple tip.
Brennan, can I give you a quick challenge while
Sure.
we read the next question? Could you go on YouTube and see if you can find a couple of tutorials for that we can share to everyone in the chat?
Sure.
And for everyone who's just listening right now, Kat is giving you some gold in the chat in terms of budgeting stuff. The only things I made a budget for in my first 4 or 5 films, I know I said do it for no money. I bought people food. I bought dinner for everyone. I bought coffee at the beginning. I said, what do you guys want to have at the beginning? And so they felt valued. That's the only thing I really spent money on. Okay. Next question. From putting pen to paper to filming to editing to finally hitting send to distribute it, how long does the process take, say, for a 15-minute short film? That is, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And to answer this question, here's what we're going to do. How long did that take for your first film? And how long did that take for your most recent film? For my first film, I remember being so overwhelmed. It probably took me 3 months because after I filmed, after the stress of making the film, I didn't want to look at it for a month, and then I forgot about it, and then I kept putting it off and putting it off. And then editing, I had to learn how to edit. So I was like, I don't know how to fucking use Final Cut. So it took me forever. My last film, I think what was the 48? We filmed it in about 3 hours and we edited it in like another couple of hours and it was done. Everyone else, first film and last film. Let's go Adnan, real quick. First film, how long? Most recent, how long?
So the first film, I would say, it took us like, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days, including editing. But it was a really short film, like a 3-minute short. And I think the first one that we did for festival, like Lena was in that too, Lady Luck. That took us less than 48 hours. So
Nice.
but otherwise it can take months. I know there's a film that I finished in 6 months, but that's just because of different reasons.
I think one thing that to remember, everyone, is that it's going to be the pre and post production that take most of the time. It's going to be the editing and the sound and all that stuff. That's what's going to take forever. That's why when you watch a movie, like a movie's about to go out and they have interviews with the celebrities, they all have longer hair because they made the movie 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Okay, Lena, first film and most recent film, time.
I don't remember the exact, like, what was the first and the last, but I've done films anywhere from, like Adnan said, under 2 days to something like 6 months, because we'd shoot it in a day, but then the editing took a while, and then because other projects came in to shoot, by the time you got to finish in the edit, it's been half a year already. So it could be anywhere from honestly just 1 day to half a year or more. If you're doing a series, especially, it could take you a year plus if you're doing like a web series or something.
For this next question, I'm actually gonna, how can I get distributors for my film? For this one, I want to talk to Brennan, because you got some funding after you made a short film. And then Kat, because you've had you've kind of moved into that, you're getting more into that professional phase of distribution and stuff. And you've had to distribute your film and stuff, and you got it on CBC, so you got it on television. And then after them, I'll see if anyone else wants to add a few things. And let's try, just for the sake of time, maybe a minute or two. Brennan, Brennan first and then Kat second.
All right. So yeah, we made a short film. Then there was a place here in Toronto that was looking for French content. And we already had a great proof of concept. So we showed the proof of concept to them. It's like, great. Okay, cool. How about on Monday? This is like Friday. How about on Monday, we have a meeting with your pitch package? And we're like, okay, cool. And so we immediately figured out how to write a pitch package, how to write a Bible, which is what you do for a TV show. So what you do is you write out the different episodes, how they work, what your characters are, sort of their arc all the way through. And then you pitch that. And so you can find tons of different places to show a pitch Bible. And then we met on Monday and they said, great, cool, let's make it. And it was super quick that way. I have another thing that I've been working on for a while, another pilot for a TV show that the pilot's all the way written with a Bible and a plan for literally 5 years of the show. So it can come here and there. Distribution for independent feature films, you're gonna have to have it finished. You're gonna have to have something that to show that you've done something, you've made something before. Let's say if you're looking for distributors, there's a bunch of other things, like it has to be at least 90 minutes long. It has to be this, it has to be that. There's a bunch of different possible things that that you have to worry about with getting distribution. And and it's really just pounding the pavement for those.
Brent, I will also say that, they made the short film, the Bell Fund. They went and submitted to the Bell Fund to get some funding to make a longer feature film. They went to Cannes with their feature film. And the other thing that they did was they made their feature film in such a way that it could also be 12 little short films. 10 short films. So they made each kind of like scene its own separate film too. So they had that flexibility. Kat?
So for short films, CBC was probably the biggest deal that I've had so far for the short films. And CBC has a program called Canadian Reflections, which has been around for 40 years. And all they do is show Canadian short films that have played on the festival circuit. That's all they've been doing for 40 years in that program. So we submitted our short film to Canadian Reflections. Actually, I submitted several short films to Canadian Reflections, and they chose See You Tomorrow. but CBC is not the only avenue. CBC obviously is very selective and extremely competitive, but there are other places you can place your film. You know, if you're an actor and you just want people to see your work and see what you can do, you may be better off to actually post it on YouTube, and you might get, you know, like Florian Francois, who some of you know. I've worked with Florian, and we did a short film a few years ago called Yes I Canada that he posted on. It was actually the first time I've worked with anybody from TAP. He posted it on Facebook, and now it's up to, I think, like almost 3,000 views on on YouTube, and 4,000 on Facebook or something like that. He did it because he wanted people to see him as an actor. So that made sense. So we made no money on it, but that's not why we made it, right? And then there are different, if you Google short film channels or short film platforms, there are a whole bunch of different ones that you can submit to and decide, you know, there's some that specialize in science fiction. There's a lot that specialize in horror, or really depends on what's right for your project.
Let me also jump in with a couple of quick things, everyone. So for all our American and international friends, here's a strategy. And I just did this right now. So for all our American friends, you can just put Federal Film Fund US, Federal Film Fund US. And there's like film grants in the United States, funding from the feds for documentaries, filmmaker resources, and you'll find a bunch of different places that are funding. The second strategy, and this is for anyone and everyone, you can do, by the way, you can do the same thing in Canada. You can do the same thing in Netherlands. You can also say like, put your country film fund. Put your city and then arts council. Put your state or province and then arts council or film fund, and you'll see all the other places that have like funding available for independent films. And that'll help you to focus, because they'll have different criteria. Some of them will want like a script and a director. Some of them will want nothing. They're all different. So maybe hopefully that helps everyone. What is your best advice for funding? We covered that. Can you create a production company solely for the purpose of making short films for demo reel purposes without having to register it as a business? I don't even know why you need to make it a company, just so you can sound more official, maybe? Ideas, anyone? I feel like you should just, like most people who make independent films, like Lena, what's your production company called?
Which one? One is Gracias Productions, and one John and I have to get Tomato and Cheese Productions.
Yeah, and you just kind of made that up, made a logo, but you didn't incorporate it or
Yeah.
anything. You just called it that.
No, because I think it's like, in terms of logistics business-wise, unless you're making a certain amount of money with it, where you're actually making big budget things, you don't, like, if you're just making stuff for yourself, you don't need to register anything.
Yeah.
At least that's my understanding. Like, if it's just stuff to make for yourself, it's not like you're 20th Century Fox in here, you know. And you need to write off taxes of all the stuff that you...
So I think if you can just keep track of your expenses, and if you know what you spent, and I don't think you have to make a company. You can show that in your expenses when you do your taxes. But if you just want to make a demo reel, I don't think it makes sense. But just keep track and make sure you have records of everything.
How long does it take you to edit a short film? That's and then this actually goes along with, how do you stay motivated and encouraged during the editing process? And that makes me smile, because there's many times where I'm like, well, this film is shit. I shouldn't even finish it. But you're like, fuck, everyone's donated their time. I have to finish it. John, you go first.
I think I want to say I'm also, like many of the filmmakers on this panel, I also like to edit my own films. And I think it's an important thing to note as a filmmaker, as a short filmmaker, you know, you're not just a script writer and you're not just a director. Being an editor, at least being heavily involved and have a lot of knowledge about the editing process, is a major part of being a filmmaker. I would even say that it's one of the most important parts that contributes to what people end up seeing. So I would say, if you think of yourself as an editor, even if you aren't the one who's physically editing the film, think of yourself as an editor, take pride in that, learn about editing, learn best practices, approach making a film as approach editing a film as being the main goal when you're filmmaking, because what you realize the more involved you are in editing is that, wow, like so much of the decision making and so much of what ends up being the final film happens in the editing room and happens in the decisions that you make when editing. So what I would do to enjoy it is tell yourself from the beginning that I'm going to dedicate a month, 6 months, whatever it takes to editing this. I'm not going to either give it to somebody else who you don't know, who's going to magically come back with a finished film for you, or try and do it too fast, unless it's a film challenge weekend. I think the more you enjoy and love editing and all the stuff that Yvonne and Brennan and everyone talked about in terms of experimenting with different cuts, experimenting with different types of footage, experimenting with how to use sound, all of that happens during the editing side of things. So the more that you go into making a short film thinking, I'm not just a writer, I'm not just a director, I'm not just a cinematographer, but man, I'm an editor, that is how you're going to enjoy it much more.
I will also say that as a way to encourage myself, I always know that always, like, this is why in the pre-production, I said, like, go to find short films, like find a film that you want to submit to, because then you have a deadline. And whenever you have a deadline, you'll be motivated, especially for the first few.
Editing is the last draft of your script.
Oh, nice. Well done.
Yeah.
Everyone, GH5 still good enough? Yeah. Dude, use anything is still good enough. It's not about the filming as much as it'll be about good light and good sound. Can I share? There was I still think about it, like 25 years ago, I went to a little independent film screening, and this guy, do you guys remember the Game Boy? Does anyone remember the Game Boy? The original Game Boy? And it was like a yellow and gray interface. So this guy, there was an attachment to the Game Boy that let you film, but it was only the two colors. So this guy made a documentary with that. And it was one of the most beautiful films I've seen. And I think about it to this day. And that was God, maybe like, there wasn't even a megapixel. It was like these gigantic blocks. It looked like crazy. So yeah, GH5 is definitely good enough, my friend.
Story is king.
Story and sound.
Yeah, and so.
There's
What
a
is
great
your-
filmmaker. There's a great filmmaker called Ken DT. He's French.
Mhm.
He uses a T2i, which is a 10-year-old camera that you could probably buy for about $100 used, and uses one lens and shoots films that you would think cost $1 million, but no. And he shoots
Can you
it,
share the
and
link? Can you find it?
yeah, sure, I can find his website, and he actually is so big of a producer now and a director now. They hired him to shoot $1 million commercials, and he has big $1 million cameras and all this stuff like that. They look the same.
Nice.
Without Magic Lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what, Nick? I wish I could find the name of the Game Boy movie. It was 25 years ago. I can't remember the name of the guy, but I think about it all the time. I'm sorry. What is your biggest piece of advice for getting people to put financial support behind your film? And that is having as much, I will just say, having a full script, having people attached to the script, having a director, having a team ready. Because the more pre-work you can do, the more people you're serious. If you show up saying, I got this idea, man, they'll be like, that's great. So does everyone else. In 30 seconds, any quick advice for getting people to put financial support? Lena.
Just a quick thing to say, it helps if you already have previous work too, because then you can already show them something also of a similar maybe type of genre or something, saying this is what we shot with no money or little money. If you give us money, we can do it even better, type of thing.
That's a great
Because it always helps when you're actually showing something physically to people, because anyone can say, oh, I have this idea, give me money.
Having stuff to show them and having a lot of pre-work. Nice. How to approach Netflix to sell a movie on their platform? Anyone have any advice on this? Brennan, you did it? Yeah. It's not really Netflix. It's kind of like the same process. You got to get a production company, but go ahead, Brennan.
I mean, it depends on certain things. So if, for instance, you want to pitch to CBC, you have to work with a production company that has already worked with CBC. Netflix, for instance, just had this big thing in Canada where they took almost open submissions from anyone. And so they got like 50,000 emails with pitch Bibles and scripts and everything like that all the way through. I would say personally, don't go down that route, because you're going to wait years before you make your movie. Make your movie for cheap, make your movie for nothing. And then send it to a few festivals here and there, get some buzz, then, then sort of get the ball rolling that way. In my opinion, the cavalry is not coming. Nobody's going to say, here's $50 million to make your movie. That only happens to one or two people every year. So
there's a YouTube channel called Film Courage, and there's this guy who explains how to pitch a film for Netflix. But
Adnan, can
again,
you find that link?
sure. And as Brennan mentioned, don't go that route. It's even getting a pitch meeting is like nearly impossible. So YouTube is your friend, crowdfunding, get together with friends.
Yep.
And use whatever you have and prepare something that you can showcase to the world.
Yeah, I will also say this. There's a lot of film festivals, some of the bigger ones, where the prize is production money to make it into a feature. This little one I shared with you, this call sheet that I shared with you all, this started off as a 10-minute short film that the director, who is she had made like one other film before this, she made it and she submitted it to the Sundance short film production contest. So it's basically short films that are like the winner gets money to make it into a feature, and she won. And then she made this feature film. And there's a few different, like that's finding some film festivals beyond just Sundance.
I think one thing I want to share is that everybody on this panel, we haven't just made one film or two films. Everyone here has made many, many films. And I think approaching making a short film, it's almost like you're building your film resume. Similar, you would never go to a high-paying job without anything on your resume and saying, hey, hire me to be CEO of IBM or whatever. You would have a resume of things that you've done. So if you're just starting out filmmaking, you shouldn't be worried about getting funding. You shouldn't be worried about having the best camera, etc. You should be worried about finishing a film and then making your next film, finishing that, make your next one, learn from that. By the end of a year, a couple of years, you'll have a handful of films that form your resume, and nobody's going to give money to you if you have never done anything before. Like Lena said, the more often you actually have examples of films that are in similar genres or similar styles of what you do want to make with a big budget, the better that your chance that you're going to have that someone will eventually give you money to make that. Everybody on this panel has made a film for zero money that, even though it wasn't the greatest film that would look great on Netflix, it was still the genre that we wanted to make. It was still the style. It was still kind of us finding our voices as filmmakers. So the way that I would approach it is forget about all those questions about budget and funding and just make as many films as you can and build that resume, your film resume.
And if you
make lots of bad films, make lots of bad films. I have
I
20 or 30 films.
thing.
We all do it. We've all done it. We've made like 20, 30 films that at the time we're like, this is great. And now I make sure that there's no way that you can see any of them. Make lots
Basically, don't be afraid to make a bad film.
Yeah.
And if you don't like storytelling, if you don't love it, I don't think it's right for you. You have to love to do this thing.
How do you get rid of wind noise when you're filming outside? Don't film outside to begin with. Wait till you get to experience. Adnan, I know you had a film once too we saw, and he filmed it outside and it was super windy the whole time. All the dialogue was lost, right? Don't film outside, but specific things, lavalier close to your, like the closer the mic is to you, the better. Any other stuff? Any other quick like logistic advice, just in 30 seconds?
A dead cat is something that you put onto your microphone. It looks like fur. What it'll do is it'll kill the wind noise completely. It should come with any professional microphone. It should come with a dead cat.
Love it.
And just
Lena.
a quick thing, worst case scenario, ADR in post. So
I've
just
done
add
that.
the dialogue
That's
after.
super, yeah.
I know that's like the worst case scenario. If you really can't salvage anything, try to replicate it in post and have them re-record
Or reshoot.
Or just fucking spend money on your audio guy, or just don't make your first 10 films should be indoors. There it is, done.
Or just make silent films.
There's actually a very famous production company. Yeah, music videos, silent films. There's a very famous, there's a podcast called The Business. KCRW. It's a Los Angeles. There we have someone from LA here. You know what I'm talking about, right? With Kim Masters. They did a highlight on this one production company that it was like 5 years ago. Basically, this one production company had made like 50 films in a year. All of them took place in a house. All the films took place in a house or in a room. And like 2 or 3 and they were all like horror films, and like 2 of them were huge hits. And the rest of them were just kind of like moderate hits, but all of them made money just because they filmed indoors and like in one location. And like that was one of their formulas. We always pick, it's always a scary film, but it's always in a haunted house. And the whole movie takes place in the house. We filmed it in 2 days. It was done.
I would say, Yvonne, another strategy is always film like safety shots, where even if, whether you're inside or outside, doesn't matter. Even if you think that you got the shot that you needed and the focus was great, always do another one just in case. Never only have one version of a shot, not only for the focus, but mainly for the audio. There's been so many cases when I've been editing something that I shot where the acting and the focus of the shot that I wanted isn't always usable because there was an airplane or there was some loud sound that kind of ruined what we got in terms of audio from a certain shot. So always make sure you're taking safety shots, especially if it's a scene with lots of dialogue and you could potentially have an airplane or a lawnmower or something that's in the background. Sometimes when you're filming, you kind of block out the rest of the world and focus only on the shot, but you really have to be attentive to the other sounds that are happening in the environment that you're shooting in. If you notice that there's a car sound that happened, or there, again, especially where we live, there's lots of airplanes always flying overhead. Make sure that you get another shot just to be safe. You can always use that if there's something that you really like, but it's just not usable because of the audio.
Good. So once again, film indoors. There it is, done. Until you get good, film indoors. Film indoors. And always take a safety. We got it. Good. We'll do one more for safety. That's a great advice. Okay, gang, we got 10 minutes and a lot of questions. So I'm going to read through all the questions and we're going to give everyone like 20 seconds to answer as many of them as we can. Okay, everybody? I'm going to answer a few of them just to make it fast. Okay. Where do you look for a team? I think we covered that. Go either on the TAP group, put your city and then acting, or your city filmmaking, and then just post in those groups. That's a good. Chicago filmmakers, Chicago actors. Hey, who wants to make a mill? Boom. 10 people will respond yes. 2 people will actually commit. 1 will show up. Done. That's how it works. Any advice for making skits as an actor in the film? If you're talking about improvising and doing skits, what I would suggest is this. First, do a search for generic scenes that have no context. Hi, how are you? Good. How are you? Good. I'm fine. Good. And then do it with 10 different emotions. Done. Or take a scene from a TV show and then do it in a different way to get yourself started. Any genre suggestions for a first film? Genre suggestions, genres only. Go, Brennan.
Comedy.
Kat.
Whatever you want it to be.
Lena.
Suspense.
Adnan.
Whatever you like to watch.
John.
Horror.
Boom.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say
There's
that.
find the film festival first. That's what I'll say. Should you put it on YouTube to get exposure? If you're doing it just for exposure, YouTube, it's just getting through the noise. I would suggest going film festivals first, and after a year, if you got no traction, then go on YouTube. What is the basic equipment that we need? I think we covered that. Can you make money from short films? No. I don't think you can. Can you? Anyone?
Sort of.
For your first short film, what is the most important aspect of the film to concentrate on? 5 words or less. I'm going to say the story and the character. Adnan. 5 words or less.
Just doing it.
Okay, John.
Keep it simple. Be as simple as possible in how you make it.
Simple. Yeah. Tripod on a table at the kitchen table. Done. Kat.
Your cell phone is your friend if you've never made a short film before.
Audio and video. Keep your old phone for audio and the other one for camera, baby. Yes.
I say finishing it. just finish it. Whether it's good or not, just get it done so they can make the next one.
Good. Brennan.
All of these things everybody said, plus the audience is smarter than you think. Don't try and outsmart the audience. You can't.
Don't be afraid to be vague. Yeah, for sure.
Watch the film in your head.
How are you? How do you get your film on IMDb, put on IMDb? I think you just need an IMDb Pro account, and then you just put it in that this is my film and here's everyone who's in it.
I don't even think you need a pro account.
Yeah, I think you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just load it up. You can Google that.
How are you staying busy during the pandemic? Right now, gatherings of any kind were banned. Where am I? I've made like, I haven't shared this with anyone. So I've just been making, I got so inspired by this found footage stuff that I live in like a kind of a scary neighborhood and it's really dark at night. So I've started making like little found footage, like, holy shit, guys, I'm just peeing right now. And I noticed someone is standing outside my door. Like, that's how I've been keeping busy.
Writing.
Yeah, I've written like 3 films. Yeah. Anyone else real quick?
Editing music.
Sleeping.
Watching classic films.
Whoever wrote this, maybe share your email in the chat. Okay. Does anyone local to Toronto want to collaborate on a short film? Join Tap and post. I'm sure there's lots of people. CE, can you send me a link to the backyard? Oh, okay. I'll look at that later. What does post-production involve? Editing and sound. Oh, Lena, can you find the Purple Planet link for sound? If you guys want, this is a great resource for if you're looking for background music or background cinema sound stuff, you can use this. Yeah, post-production is all about the editing, man. Editing, and then distribution, getting it out to film festivals. This is a great place for free, what would you call it? Stock audio? When it comes to sound equipment, what is a must-have? When you're starting out, your cell phone is your friend, but I would say get a couple of lavalier mics. Don't buy it, rent them from a local music store because it'll be like $30 and a Zoom recorder. And I think Brennan put something about that, right?
They're also cheap on Amazon. If you can get like a mid-range mic, you can see reviews on YouTube and then get one from Amazon.
How does animation factor into short films? Would much of what is discussed still apply to animation?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes, everything.
Yeah, I would say that usually like animation is, it's like when you're looking at film festivals, there'll be animation or non, but then usually for the non-animation, you can still submit animation to. And it's its own kind of world. Adnan?
I would suggest start with a project where you know you can do it and finish it instead of planning something really complex. You do your animation, sure, maybe in a second or third project, but in the beginning, don't start something that if you're not sure you're gonna finish it.
Okay.
I don't know.
This is actually an interesting question, gang. Well, they've all been great questions, everyone. Not to disregard anyone's questions. On a phone, what speed do we need to film at? And film speeds are something that is like, I don't know, maybe some phones have that. 24 frames per second is the standard, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Cinema standard. 30 frames per second is television standard.
Okay. Film standard is 24, TV is 30. Anyone else, real quick?
In Canada, yes. Europe, it's 25.
Yeah, for PAL, it's 25. Yes, it's true.
Mm-hmm. Film or television is 25 frames?
Both. Television. Film is 24 the entire world.
Okay, good to know. That is something that'll come in line with like all your fancy cameras.
Usually.
What I found though is if with your film editing software, if it's different frames per second, you can usually change the frames per second. Okay, here's our final question actually, with 3 minutes to go. I have a physical disability and I have made a few short films. Can anyone here recommend resources that look for diversity in film? Because all the projects I've been in are either made by myself or for a friend. Yeah, when you have disabilities, that's a tough one. We got 3 minutes. Everyone give me like 20-second answers. Brennan, you can take it away first.
You know how we were talking about like film funds and stuff like that? Everybody's looking for more diversity right now. They want diversity of voices. They want diversity of experience. They want diversity of that. If you have a physical disability, and you want to sort of, to be honest, you'll be pushed to the start of the line, I think, in a lot of places. you know, I think the problem sometimes is with sometimes like that is that sometimes they'll want to they try and make that only what you're all about, and that's obviously not true.
Yep.
And so that is I think a problem. That's just the film problem.
That's where
And
the arts councils will really come in, because they'll be the ones that are like, if we're looking for people, we're looking for film content like A, B, or C.
Yeah.
PBS and NPR in America, you should reach out to them. You can reach out because they'll have like different funding sources for that. If you're making your own films, I would suggest don't make films about disability. Make films where you are make a romantic comedy and you just happen to be like, let's say, in a wheelchair, or like one of our TAP members doesn't have an arm, and we never do a film about him not having an arm. We do a film about him doing comedy. You know what I mean? Jason, you guys know Jason, right? So, and he's hilarious. All right, my friends, we're almost out of time, and those were all of the questions. What I'd like to ask before we finish off for today is, can everyone please turn on their cameras? Can everyone please? And I want to say thank you all for coming. Before you leave, there's a couple of things I want to share with all of you. As I promised, this is a few things that we're going to share. Number one, both John and Lena produced this series called Marked. I'm going to share the link with you right here. I'm going to share a link for everyone's films here. So this is for a John and Lena production. Please take a moment to watch that. This is Lena's film that she was talking about called After. You can take a minute to watch that. Man of the Year is a music video that is actually has Justin, which was also in Kat's movie, See You Tomorrow. See You Tomorrow is not publicly available right now, but I do believe that you shared the other film with us here, Kat. It's on Vimeo. It's called So What Now? So I'm going to share that in the chat. Give them a view, everybody. Give it a view. And then Adnan, you shared your film that you thought was good for the holidays. It's a little late, but here we go anyway. Boom. So everyone, those are the films that we had for today. If anyone wants to take a moment, because TAP is really about using community and everything like that. If anyone right now wants to take a moment and share their email and saying what you want to collab with and what city you're in, do so now. And then another thing I will mention is coming up on Tuesday, we have a How to Become a Working Actor, where me and a couple of veteran actors are going to talk to you about basically your first year and a half of how you should be planning your career so that you can be an actor. To that working actor where you have an agent and you're getting paid to be in film and television. That's going to be on Tuesday. On Thursday, we have How to Be a Voice Actor with a veteran voice actor who's also a member of our collective named Dan Wilmont. He's got a voice that's like butter. He's one of those guys. If you want, those two are free. And our first actual meetup where you get to see what we actually do, where we practice acting, and you're all welcome to come because it's virtual. It is not free, but in a moment, Elena is going to share a code that will give you 50% off. So it'll make your first drop-in instead of $20, $10. And Elena, can you please share the link with all that kind of goodness in there?
Yeah, 1 moment.
Yeah. Aside from that, everyone, can you put your hands up like this? And can we all get some silent like applause for our panel? That's right. Yeah. Chris gets bonus points for grooving with it, Chris. Well done, good sir. Listen, to all our friends that have joined us outside, we are a Toronto-based group, but because we're virtual, we're now becoming international, and you're all welcome to come to our meetups because we do have interactive acting meetups. I want to say thank you to everyone, not just from Toronto, but from Canada, from the US, and internationally who came to see us today. That is it. If anyone has any specific questions that you want to ask that were not covered, it is optional to stay after this point. But I will be here, and if any of our panel wants to stay for a few extra minutes to answer other questions, we will be here. Just turn on your microphone. Thank you all very much. Happy 2021.
Thank you.
Elena, can you please share the link again for everything? I will share a link on the meetup page for this meetup. So you can watch, if you want to review this, I'll share a YouTube link and it'll be unlisted. So you can only find it with the link on the meetup event. So check that later this evening or tomorrow, and you'll be able to watch all of this again. And Elena has just posted it. Thank you very much, Elena. You might want to post it a few more times so people see the code. Thank you, Elena. And that's it, everybody. Have a good rest of your Sunday.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you, Brennan, John, Lena, Kat, and Adnan. Thank you for all the great wisdom you've given us. And everyone else, have a great evening. If you have any specific questions, you can ask them now. Just turn on your microphone. Bye, Chris. Take care, dude. Bye, Simone. Bye, George. It's nice seeing you, George. I haven't seen you in a while. Take care. Bye, Natalia. Bye, Harneet. I'm trying to see Aruna. See you later. Simone, bye. John, see you later. Bye, Elizabeth. Take care. Any other questions, gangs? Feel free to jump in on that.
That was super cool, everybody. Thanks for doing that.
Is it Nick, by the way? Nick?
Yeah, Nick or Neek.
Neek. And you're in Alberta?
Yeah.
We're in Alberta, sir.
What's that?
We're in Alberta, sir.
Red Deer, Alberta.
Oh, you're from Red Deer. I've been to Red Deer.
Yeah.
Nice town. Thanks for joining us, mate. And you shared your link to the film festival, right?
Yeah, I shared that link.
And make sure to put it on the meetup page.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Ivan. It's pretty cool.
Ahuse, how nice to see you, bro.
Nice to see you.
I love that background. Look at that background on Ahuse.
It's always love. It's all love on this side.
All love, baby. It's good to see you, homie.
Yeah.
Now, Yvonne, I have a question.
Yes, whoever this is.
It's Lizelle.
Oh, Lizelle, hello. Yes.
Yes. My question is I would like to use some music in my little short film, but I've been hearing if you take a song from a well-known singer, it's going to be a lot of problems putting it in. So I just want to know, what can I do about that?
I will give you a quick tip. You got Purple Planet there that we shared that link. I'll ask our panel as well. I would say one of the kind of ways I sort of get around it is I find a karaoke cover of the song I want because it sounds just different enough that it won't get a copyright. But I'll put that up.
That's a good one.
I go on YouTube and put karaoke,
perfect,
like Justin Timberlake, and you'll get like a cheesy version of it. Anyone else about music? There's royalty free.
Okay.
John?
I was going to
Depends
say,
on where
Lizelle-
depends on where you're
ahead.
sharing it. Depends on where you're sharing it. Like if
Okay.
you're putting it on YouTube, probably the worst
Yeah.
thing that's going to happen is
You get
the company that owns that piece of music will just put ads on the front of your video, and then they'll take money from those ads.
Oh, okay.
But you could still show your movie.
We'll
And
get
have-
an email. Yeah.
You might get an email. I mean, usually they just say, okay, maybe they'll give you a copyright strike. Who knows? But probably not. Probably they'll just take the money from it and be like, okay, well, I'm going to earn all the money from your work. But hell, if it's a great movie, if it's a great film with a great piece of music and it like goes viral, would you rather have like 50,000 subscribers on YouTube or money from the video? I'd way go with the subscribers if you're going to keep making stuff. That's my
Kat,
my
I
thing.
want to add to that. Actually, the worst thing that can happen is if they really want to, they can sue you. And that has happened before. It can sometimes when they want to make a point, when big companies want to make a point about piracy, they have been known to go after the little guy. So that is the worst thing that can happen. I personally would not advise using copyrighted music. There are so many great songs available on I don't know Purple Planet, but I've certainly used sources. Just get a composer, some up and coming composers who want to build.
Here, let me jump in actually with something here.
Right there.
Let me jump in with something real quick. I will, because to Kat's point, what I've done in the past for music, YouTube and Facebook now have like their own selections. They have their own libraries of like royalty-free music that you can use on YouTube and Facebook that they won't strike you for. So you can just do YouTube Music Library or Facebook Music Library, and you'll find a cajillion songs. When I was starting out for my first film, I should share it with you guys. I should find it, and maybe I'll share it. It's called it was like a stalking film about salsa dancing. I went on Craigslist and I said, "Yo, I'm looking for some musicians. I got a short film. I got no money. Does anyone want to give me some music?" And I had 3 people reply back. One girl on her piano in like 20 minutes just watched. I sent her the film without music, and she was like, doom, 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 doom. She's like, there you go. I also did a post on like some indie groups on a different film. And I was like, hey, are there any bands that will let me use their music for my film? I'm looking for something like and I gave them some criteria. And literally a few bands are like, here's my CD. Please, yeah, share it with the world. And actually, that is also in that salsa movie. I should share it.
I was gonna say, Vaughn, for my first ever short film, before I knew much about the process of filmmaking, I was like you, Lizelle. I wanted to use an Ace of Base song in a Tap Fest film, and I didn't know much about the process. So I was like, okay. I actually found out the information of like the people in charge of the rights to the song, and I actually emailed them. I was like, hey guys, I'm going to be screening at Tap Fest for one day. Can I use it? And even to get it screened once at Tap Fest, there was so much legalities and so many questions that they wanted answered. They will reply to you, but the answers you're not going to like. They're not going to give you the freedom to use it how you want to. So I think
I would stay away from it.
Yeah. I know everybody wants to use a famous song in a great scene in your film, but it's not worth the trouble of doing it.
I have another question. I have another sort of experience similar to that. I called up there's an orphanage. There's a famous orphanage and children's home in Britain that holds a lot of copyrights. It's a tradition for a lot of people after they die, they leave the copyrights to this orphanage. So Peter Pan, for instance, is owned by this orphanage. And so any money that anybody makes on Peter Pan, the money goes to the orphanage, not the family of this person 100 years after they've dead or something like that. And I called them up actually to use a piece of music, and I said, sure, go ahead. We'll send off the stuff right away. Don't worry. It's a great, but I mean, that's depending on who you're talking to. It's the amount of questions or the amount of answers, the types of answers to those questions depend on who you're talking to. And yeah, you can get, I mean, I'd be surprised if somebody sued you if you weren't making money off of your short film. But if you're submitting your short film to film festivals and using copyrighted music, that's a big no-no. But then again, one of the films at this Isolation Short Film Festival here that in town that won money and was actually showed on the Cineplex website used Oscar-winning music, and nothing was done about it, even though that's technically breaking the law. So, I mean, you run the risk, as Katarzyna says, you run the risk, you could be sued. But, if you're making money off it, absolutely. Yeah. Get ready for, or just don't use that music. Find something else. There's lots of good.
I have a similar question.
Yeah, sure. Francis, how are you?
How you doing? So I'm actually the Christian Traveler. I'm trying, if you go to thechristiantraveler.com, I'm trying to make I would like to get into Christian films.
Okay.
But anyways, my question is, what if I cannot use a song from a famous artist or any of that, right? But what if I use a cover of that song? Like if I have my friend play that song in a guitar and sing it, can I use that of a famous song?
No. You'll still have copyright issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have to, anybody covering the song, they have to get the rights from the original writer to cover the song. They have to pay a fee. And then once they own that copy, then they can give that to you for copyright. But any money that they make will have to go back to the original copyright owner for the use of the actual song. Yeah. But if you want, for instance, classical music, you can find music that was recorded years and years and years ago, and there's different copyrights in different countries. So for instance, in Canada, for the moment, it's 50 years past the recording or the death of the artist. So I could find something from the London Symphony Orchestra made in 1970, because it's 70 years past the recording of some Bach piece of music or Beethoven, and that's copyright free in Canada, but it won't be in the United States because it's 75 years in the United States and most of the rest of the world. So it's really complicated. If you're looking to make money with music that isn't yours, get a lawyer, cross your T's and dot your I's, or else you're going to get in trouble.
I will also say, Francis, I know that I think you're on your phone, right? So I don't know if you can see the chat. I will send out a transcript of the chat. I think.
Oh, okay.
Because Kat has shared like 1, 2, 3 different links for free music for everyone.
Yeah, I saw that purple one.
No, there's like freemusicarchive.org, buffer.com/library/background. You'll see it. It's in,
There's
yeah.
art list as well. Art
Creative
list.
Commons.
Yep. I think unless there's any more questions anyone has, I think maybe.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Going off of Francis's question about copyrights.
Yeah.
Like, if you have a cover and you give credit to the artist, is that still like an issue? Like,
Yes.
Always going to be an
even
issue.
if you're
and
just
it's more
singing a
and more of
song
an
on
issue.
YouTube, or is that something completely different?
Still,
Stay away.
still
From, stay away from other people's music.
Okay.
I mean,
Sorry.
Christina, are you?
I was told you could, as long as you gave credit to like the original artist, kind of thing.
You could say this is fair use. I don't have the copyright, but you still might get like a YouTube saying this is copyrighted material, so we can't publish your video.
Christina, are you talking about specifically to use in movies, or you want to just actually do a cover and post it type of thing?
Both.
Because if you're just doing like a cover, you're sitting there playing guitar and then you post it to YouTube, just like to show this is how I can sing or this is how I can play, that's fine. You just put, you know, who the original artist is. But if you're actually going to use it in a movie and like make money potentially and stuff, then that's bad.
It's an important thing, I would say, if you live in the United States or Canada. I mean, we say a lot of the United States stuff is important because we use YouTube, and YouTube is a US based thing, is to learn the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA. It's very short to read. It allows, it's a basic understanding of what's fair usage and what isn't. And like, for instance, if you're making fun of something, you can use clips of it. If you're making fun of this, you can use clips from it. And if anybody tries to, you know, do stuff like to you on YouTube and be like, oh, under the Digital Millennium Copyright, and I've actually, like, even the Weinstein Company, when they still existed, gave me a copyright strike for doing a review of one of their films at TIFF.
Yeah.
And I used some of their trailer, and I'm like, this is,
yeah,
you know, and they'll try and do that. They'll try to, but you can argue it away if you know the rules.
And they have these digital bots to
If I
find
can
out.
just summarize it all, YouTube always errs on the side of caution. They don't want to piss off the people who own the money. So they will preemptively copyright strike, or just say, we think it's copyright, so we're just gonna and they're very reactive. So use all the links there. All right, 5 more seconds. Anyone else have any questions not to do about music?
I just want to add one more thing, is if you make friends with
Thanks, Brandon, for
composers.
Creative Commons. Sorry, Kat.
Yeah, if you connect with composers, you can say to them, I want something that sounds like this, right? And they're not going to copy it exactly, but I've worked with people, and some people can do it really well and some people can't do it at all, even if they're great musicians. But for example, for See You Tomorrow, I gave Elizabeth some samples from TV shows, and I said, I want this to sound like a TV show, and here are some examples of how they would score this kind of a scene. So it's something like,
that's nice,
like this. And then she did her own research, and then we talked about it, and she wrote something that's original, but it's the right genre.
Like Seinfeld.
Boom, doom, doom. Yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. Kat, that was a brilliant little find a creator saying, like, I want it to sound sort of like this song by Green Day. Well done. Bravo. Good try. See, independent film hacks. I love it. That's what you get at TAP.
Hey, I just want to mention, can I mention I was the guy that asked the disability question. So if anybody has any suggestions or resources they want to send me, just let me know, like in thread or.
Nick, can you send me, if you send me a quick message, I will connect you with the group at ACTRA. That is what's it called? It's one, I'm affiliate. I know them. There's an ACTRA group that's all for actors with disabilities.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Let me see if I get, what is it called? 1, 2, 3 something. It's called 1, 2. I can't take off the top of my head. I'm trying to think about, it was a subcommittee. Yeah, I'll have to find it for you, okay? Can you send me a quick message and to remind me?
The Diversity and Inclusion Committee at ACTRA National.
Yeah, what's it? Thanks,
Diversity and Inclusion. I'll write it down.
Perfect. All right. Well, dear friends, thank you for marathoning this with us. And Brennan, thank you for finding that. I'll wait till you share that link before we sign off. So everyone else, maybe we'll see you on Tuesday. Maybe we'll see you on Thursday, or maybe we'll see you on Saturday for our meetup groups. Diversity and Inclusion Committee Actor National. Just do a search for that there, Nate. All right.
I got
How do I find the link for the next meetup again?
It's all on the meetup. How did you find this link, Francis?
I'm actually just traveling through the United States, and I happen to be in Buffalo, New York, and it popped up, but
Oh, on
I've
the
never seen
Facebook
it
group?
before. Yeah, but I'm going back to Las Vegas soon.
Francis, if you just send me an email, can you send a message wherever you saw that thing? Can you make a comment? Hey, how do I find the other meetups? And then either Elena and I will see it and we'll reply back to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that easy? Otherwise, I can. Yeah. If that's easy, just make a post and we'll share the link with the other ones.
All right. On the christiantraveler.com, I got my link in there for my social media.
Awesome.
And all that. So, yeah.
Follow.
Thank you.
All right, everyone.
Been great seeing you, everyone.
Thank you all for staying, for coming, and for being here the whole time. And thank you again, Brennan, Lena, John, Adnan, and Kat. I really appreciate you guys taking the time. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
I just want to add one
Thanks to all.
for Nick. I just left the link in the comments. Real Abilities is a Canadian organization that champions artists with a disability, and they've sometimes partnered up with certain film festivals, and I would strongly recommend checking them out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to post the transcript from this thing with all the links and everything so everyone can have that.
Send me an email, Nick.
Yvonne, can you post all these websites for us?
I'm going to post the transcript.
Okay.
Stuff in it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
who is that that said they wanted me to email them?
Say that again, Nick.
I don't know. Someone there. Oh, this guy, RD Renshaw.
Send me an email.
You guys will talk? Cool. Oh, thank you, Michelle. I went to the 3 dots. No one. Save chat. There we go. Chat saved. Thank you, Michelle. All right, everybody. Bonne soirée.
Later.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year.
It's meeting everyone. Happy filmmaking.
Yeah, all the best. Make your first film, second film, third.
Just go for it. Just do it.